We're good to go. Pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's all recording and there's your names.
All right, I will call the meeting of Thursday, April 6th, 2022 meeting of public safety to order. Roll call.
Here.
Okay, all present and here. All right, all present accounted for, and thank you for the crowd in the back. Glad to have all of you here. All right, I would ask for approval of the agenda and also the previous minutes from March 7th, 2023.
I so approve the agenda and minutes.
Okay, McGregor
second.
and Brenda. Okay. Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye.
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 Okay. Motion passed, so minutes and agenda approved. Chairperson comments. My last meeting, so yeah, glad to have all of you present for it, and hopefully we will resolve those agenda items that we have before us for tonight's.
I want to thank you for your, first of all, accepting the appointment last year to chair the Public Safety Committee. And I would also like to tell you did a good job and kept the ship heading in a good quartering wind direction. So you'll be missed. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for saying that. So even with a 2-hour meeting last week, I think, or last month rather, we'll see what we do tonight. And it's been announced to me that we have 2 members of the committee that need to be out of here by 6. So we will keep going as quickly as we can. So thank you, President Zerflu, for those comments. All right, moving on to the police department, general update. And we have Chief Drew remotely.
Yes, I'm hiding in my office. Feeling much better, but still not willing to come in and contaminate the rest of you. So I'll try to make this brief. As of now, we're up to full staff. Officer Abbott is back from his surgery and back at full capacity. With that said, March has been a little rough. I was out twice for COVID, and then with Officer Abbott being out, that left us about 15 shifts that were either partially or completely left unfilled. Part-time officers did assist some, and Officer Murtis really stepped up and helped us out. But again, kind of concerning that we can't get those shifts filled. I guess the next point on my monthly is just something that I wanted to start the discussion on. It's a little bit of a disappointing fact, but in the 3.5 years that I've been chief, it doesn't seem like we're any closer to being prepared for that NEPCO takeover as far as staffing and whatever. And I know I've been working hard with Boz to try to come up with the funding, but certainly that's something that I'll be talking with the next board about to hopefully we can get some additional help so that we can be a little bit more proactive with the school and with that additional responsibility over there. Obviously with the Nashville shooting, again, that brought to light law enforcement response, and in that circumstance it was highly praised, and it was 14 minutes from the time of the call, and I can't live with myself thinking that it would take 14 minutes in our jurisdiction to stop a threat inside of our schools. So we're going to work hard to try to curb that and I guess move forward. Officer Murtis was able to attend a crisis intervention training this last month. Not only was that free of charge, but we also did get a check for $1,000 to the village for the payment of backfill and overtime caused by his absence during that. The next item on there, I have that the squad is still being built. I actually got called today. the squad is done and ready for service, other than it still needs a radio. So we will be picking it up in the next few days and hopefully be able to get it into service as soon as possible. The Explorer squad currently has a siren that's not working, so that is going down to be repaired tomorrow. But again, that leaves us with one working squad currently. As without the siren, it doesn't meet the qualifications of an emergency vehicle. Nothing exciting with payroll. Enforcement was down some. We did have 19 stops with only 5 citations issued. We were up on ordinance citations. We've been working closely with Ben to get some of the problem properties taken care of. And we had 3 criminal arrests. As we look at the calls for service, and I don't normally point it out, but I did want to point out this month that if you look at all of our calls for service, we really, the police chief shouldn't be saying this, but we really don't have much crime in the village. And I'm very proud of that fact. I think we had one theft reported this month, and honestly, it was a fluke. The FedEx guy came back and picked the package up. So that's something that I am very proud of, that we are keeping the community safe. But again, I think we could do an even better job. Budget wise, we're right on track. Otherwise, anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions from the committee or any of the audience that wanted to participate in this report as well? I wish you the best in your funding for the position that you're looking for.
Thanks for all your help along the way, Sue. Your service is greatly appreciated.
I hope that it continues, and I think it will.
I think so too.
Support going forward. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Chief. You can turn the camera off if you want, or we. Some of us might be happy to look at you. I just can't do it while I'm looking at other things. So thank you for your report. Glad to have it. Okay, let's move on to the fire department then. Have a report.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to introduce you all to Brian Lukey, who's a captain on the fire department. It's part of my plan for the year to rotate a different officer through each one of the steps with the monthly reporting, the public safety meeting, just so everybody kind of has a firm grasp on what kind of happened behind the scenes. Brian is he's one of the most dedicated members we've ever had. He responds to just about every single call. How many points did you have last year? Like 270? I don't know. It was staggering how many, like well over 200 things he responded to last year, and drills and training and meetings. So welcome, Brian. March was a busy month. Last year was a record year at this time, and this year we are 3 calls over that volume. First Assistant Chief Craig Kester is officially retired now after 30 years of service. We spoke about him in the last meeting, and I would like to thank him again for his service to the village. 30 years is nothing to sneeze at. We successfully passed a required state ISO audit, got a passing score. No official findings, but there's some improvements that can be made with our reporting software, things like that. So next year it should be even smoother. We posted an ad on Facebook and gained a potential member. I will be giving the application shortly to the PFC, because I found out last night we actually had an application and an interview. He kind of stopped in, I guess. So, and there's also an ad on on the village's nice new digital sign in front of the fire station, so that's appreciated. And we had our March fish fry, which is traditionally cooked by the retirees, and it's my favorite meal, and everyone had a great time. Like I said, call volume's up. Vehicles are holding their own.
Okay. Nothing new to add to that.
Well, we've got the elephant in the room. When would you like to start that, Whirlwind?
Well, we can move right on to old business if you want to include it under that discussion. Public comments. Oh, no, we didn't. You're right. I'm sorry. I missed over. I apologize to any of you who chose to. Let's go ahead with that. Thank you for reminding me. So, Paul Brody's name is down first.
No comment.
No comment. Okay. Harry?
I would wait to comment after the chief speaks.
Okay. Is everybody waiting for him to go first? Then, all right, I see heads nodding back there. All right. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just a point of order. We have moved on to item number 9. Are you going to take that? And is that in concert with item 11A, discussing the chief's memo? Are they one and the same?
Well, I don't know that it is.
No? Okay. Boz said no.
They're separate.
Okay.
I think the
Thank
chief
you.
wants to hit on 11A is what you want to focus on.
Or we can touch on the bylaws first.
Well,
Want to
Well,
get that out of the way?
bylaws are down
We wanna
first, so
knock that
let's
one out.
go.
Yep.
Let's do that first then. Okay, so under 9, discussing old business, discussion on the amended fire department bylaws after 30 days of Port Edwards Fire Department leadership consideration. And we're thinking about a potential motion to approve the amended bylaws. And I think after discussion, because these bylaws have now been looked at by the PFC, so the chair and the PFC have looked at them. I think we're thinking about setting a deadline for the fire department then to look at all of the input that's been merged into one document. So that will be available to the fire department to use as consideration. So I think rather than going into a discussion of that, because we have had a discussion of this previous, that we will put this off, give you the deadline of either, I think it's either the 20th or the 27th. Am I remembering that? Those dates, right?
I guess we can have that discussion. And just for clarification, Madam Chairs, we PIT committee, public safety committee, PFC, and some commentary, and then my review of it produced a packet as of Tuesday morning. So what you have, I have a couple extra copies here. You have all those merged commentary or adjustments. After we merged the PFC comments, I sent it to Nick for his review, village attorney. So he has looked at it. So in this review off to the right, you'll see in blue, that's our village attorney looking at all the markup and his commentary. So now you have a consolidated product that I think I gave you a heads up on it.
Mhm.
But I think now we probably need to get a date on your agenda where you can review this with your officers yourself. Look at all that commentary and then come back to this committee. You don't need to go back to the PSC. You don't need to go back to PIT. You need to come back to this committee and say, basically have that discussion either line by line or we're good. And then a motion can be made to move it for approval. So is that clear?
Yep. My thought process on that was we have a regularly scheduled officers meeting the first Wednesday of the next month. So it'd be whatever May, I'm not sure.
So May 3rd.
May 3rd. So that's going to be discussed at our officers meeting. After that, I should be able to have an updated copy to you. Do you want it like at the public safety meeting? Do you want it ready for the public safety?
Well,
meeting?
yeah, so if the public safety folks continue the same rhythm of meetings, they would meet on the second, but we can't speak for that because you have a new chairman, a new board, and they're gonna set that agenda on the 18th.
Okay,
Let's just stick to the date that you can get it back to the village. So you're saying the 3rd or the 4th?
we'll review it on the 3rd, and then it'll take, probably a week to
Okay,
make some edits and get it back to you.
okay, so the
May
10th.
10th. Okay.
So that's
so
the date that you need to
deadline.
figure out.
Let's
And
let's call it that.
That is firm. That you're committing to that.
Yep.
Correct, okay, all right. So May 10th then, you will have had your meeting and can come back with.
Unless there's some glaring oversight that we need to confer with the PFC or the village, something we're butting heads with, but.
Yeah, and I think maybe there's been input from the PFC, from the attorney, from
mhm,
this committee, so I think we're saying. It's up to the fire department now to come forward.
right,
You've got all the, yeah,
I haven't seen any problems so far.
okay, all right, so let's leave May 10th then as a firm deadline
Okay.
that will come forward. I hope to hear that on soon after May 10th that it came forward and was approved and you guys can go
Me too,
Forward.
I'm excited to wrap this up.
with that. Okay. All right, so that then obviously we'll wait until the next public safety committee meeting and the approval should come and be. I won't be, but you will be ready to go forward with that.
Will it be the next public safety meeting or?
Well, it
The meeting
depends on
after.
when, as Boz just said, it depends
Oh, right,
on
right.
when that
Yeah,
meeting
okay.
is.
other
Yeah.
than for discussion, it's not gonna be meeting any committees till the June timeframe. The way this calendar is looking right now.
Sure.
That's fine.
Okay, so it'll be, you may have 2 months or almost 3. Okay, I don't think any other old business that needs to come forward or anything else under that particular item. All right, then moving on to new business. Anybody have any new business that needs to come forward? Okay, if no new business, then we'll move on to number 11. The correspondence that has been received by several individuals in the room.
Okay,
So we'll go forward with that.
okay, so. Let me just give you a little timeline, just so y'all can see kind of what this month has been like. So on March 8th, we had our dinner meeting, our fish fry, and there was a pulpit meeting or pit meeting, I'm not sure how you guys say it, but pit meeting. And I was informed there was talk about our athletic association account. So the next day, March 9th, and a few days after that, I reached out to our accountant. I reached out to the village auditor just to kind of get some clarification on it, on if we had to disclose things, what. My knowledge is limited, so I reached out for information, thought I was in a pretty good spot of where things stood. March 14th, village board meeting. I was confused after speaking at that. I thought I had some bad information. I left there feeling that it was no big deal. If there was to be an audit conducted, the village would pick up the $1,500 charge. So I was kind of confused over the hoopla. And then on March 22nd, I passed this packet around. Got an email from Boz saying that if there was an audit, it'd be $1,500 and that charge would be billed to the fire department athletic fund. So there's a lot of confusion there. The next day I spoke with the village auditor again, spoke with area fire chiefs that I have good working relationships with, retired fire chiefs. March 24th, because it started blowing up nicely at that point. People were talking about lawyers already, and it's just a whole lot of hype. March 24th, I spoke with Boz, called him on the phone, said, we'll figure something out. I don't want to get lawyers involved and go through all that mess. March 29th, during another pit meeting, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of, well, I think you guys should do this, and I think this, and I feel that, and a lot of I don't knows and awkward silences. Nobody really knows what's going on. I asked twice for an extension because there's just too many variables with all this. So on March 31st, I got an email threatened with disciplinary action, citing that I disobeyed a direct order with zero communication, nothing at all. But there was some communication. And then simultaneously, there was Facebook posts by a village trustee that I did not agree with. We can speak about that later. Let me finish up my timeline first.
No, I wasn't raising my hand. Sorry, I wasn't.
Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted to speak.
No.
So March 31st, there's a Friday night. I spent all evening on the phone, calling, seeking information. I called Nick, the village attorney, left a message, did not receive a call back. April 1st, Saturday, I called in that Emergency Athletic Association meeting because I was threatened with PFC disciplinary action. There was a scheduled PFC meeting on Monday. We had a regularly scheduled Athletic Association meeting on Wednesday, so I thought the PFC meeting would take place before the Athletic Association. So I don't know what was going on. So I wanted to call a meeting, emergency meeting, hash it out so I could, if the subject came up at the PFC, I could at least have a resolution. Because it's my understanding throughout all this that I am a member of the Athletic Association. We have a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary. I'm just a member. I asked the auditor if I can disclose that information. He said, no, you have elected representatives. I said, if I had disclosed that information, what would have happened? And he said, you could have been in violation of your athletic association's rules, whatever rules are set up for the 501c3.
Jason, could I just stop a minute? So the issue, this ongoing issue, if I understand it right, is related to the 501c3, 501. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
okay.
C3. I think that's what.
Okay, so that is underlying all of this.
Well,
more or less. I mean,
I think the underlying factor was to politically smear Eric Saylor, to be honest.
Okay.
I think this kind of got wrapped up in the process.
So how did this come up then?
Well, I know they're trying to clean up some language. The village was going through an auditing process. There's an old village ordinance that hasn't been enforced in over 20 years. And now coincidentally, when Eric is president of the association, this all of a sudden is the most important thing in the world. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to be labeled a conspiracy theorist, but so we had this emergency meeting and we voted to follow the written letter of the village ordinance. Our athletic association records are open for review by the village auditor, just like it's spelled out. Now, since then, I've gotten an email asking me which type of audit I want. Do I want to go the easy route, the 3-page fill in the blanks, or a deep dive audit? And I'm confused.
And I guess
it seems like the sorry to interrupt, but it seems like the 3-page fill in the blank one would be a violation of the ordinance, which if it gets around charging the taxpayers $1,500, $2,000, great. I don't want money to be wasted on this.
I guess, can I make
yeah,
a
I'm
comment
sorry.
here? Because this is a 501(c)(3), that's why I don't understand all of this.
Nobody
Is my
does.
understanding, my exposure to them, or whenever I've been associated with an organization that has a 501(c), it is public. And the organization publishes usually at the end of the year, a financial statement that doesn't have all the detail, doesn't have everything listed, but it has the income and the outgo wherever that money went, whatever money went out. So it's, it's on a report. And I guess I don't understand why the secrecy or why
There's no secrecy on our part. We're just trying to follow the rules as best as we can, and see all the information that I'm getting. I've talked to the auditor, our accountant, and everything they tell me contradicts what you just said. So
that's what
there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
We're not hiding anything. We're doing everything legally, ethically, morally, whatever you want to call it.
And why the reluctance to share that information, I guess, and partly what I see happening is the community is now asking questions about it and why that is an item that doesn't want to be revealed.
The way the ordinance is written, it could be interpreted different ways. It could be, we have a fund with the village, a donation fund. It's part of the general fund over there. That ordinance could be talking about that. It could be talking about our 501(c)(3) account. No one really knows for sure. It's a lot of, I think this, I heard that.
And maybe this has come about because the village, because we fund the fire department, the village funds the fire department. People want to know, what money has come in and where it's used and what it's. What's.
And I can't wait to tell people. I love to tell people what we're spending our money on. We make announcements during our street dance, and maybe that is something we're not doing properly. Maybe there is a rule that we're supposed to have a full
I'm
public
thinking of
disclosure at
something
the
more
end.
formal than that. You have two members back there. Would it be okay if?
Yeah, these guys are very knowledgeable.
Okay.
A lot of this has been lost since leadership roles have changed. So these guys have been around. There's probably a combined total of 150 years of firefighting experience.
Well, more than
there.
that.
So, yeah,
Look at them.
please speak.
Hi, I'm Tom Bartlett. I'm a retired fire chief of the village of Port Edwards. I retired in 2014. I'm no longer a resident of the village of Port Edwards, but I was a resident of this village for 60 years. I have a lot of experience, and this is the fourth time this has come up over the years. This is not the first time, and the first three times it was beat back because you are a political organization. The Firefighters Association is not part of the fire department. They are not part of the village of Port Edwards. It is a firefighters association. It was started years ago before my time. We used to have a dance at Saratoga Town Hall, and it was to fund our bowling, our softball games, and golfing and things like that with neighboring departments. And we made like $200 on that dance after expenses. We didn't make a whole bunch of money. It wasn't until we started the street dance over here, and we never expected it to turn out like it did. We made a bunch of money. We had a bunch of people. It turned into a village event. A number of firefighters didn't want to continue because it's so much work. It really wasn't about a fundraising. It is not a fundraising arm. It has turned into a big fundraiser, and we have given a ton of money back to the village from donations from the dance. Steve Brzezinski, former retired assistant chief of the department, used to have a list, and we would put it up at the dance. And it is an extensive list. Kerry has a list of money, but it is not part of the fire department. It is not a village organization. It is like the Lions Club or anything like that. Yes, they meet on village property. The fire department meets there. They have their own officers. It's a completely separate organization. When they write a check out at the dance, they write it out to the Firefighters Association. Any checks made out to the village of Port Edwards Fire Department come over here in the fund that Jason was talking about. And that gets spent, you know, that is part of it that you guys, you know, it's kept here because it's made out to the fire department, not to the association. And I think that's a part that's missing, is it's misunderstood. You're thinking because they're firefighters that this is a fire department organization. There's a reason they have separate officers. The fire department meeting is adjourned, and the association meeting, the officers, they change places, and the meeting, you know, continues as a separate. Normally, one of the main things they talk about is the dance, or if they're going to make a donation.
And I think one of the issues that has come up and where the money gets mixed, I think, is that the village is paying firefighters to set up the dance and
they don't pay them to set it up. They pay them for, they pay the electric, they pay the utilities for the building, you know, the building and stuff like that. But that's really not any different than the Lions Club down in the park. Yes, granted, they donated the building, but all the utilities and everything in that building are paid for by the village. You know, and I'm not knocking the Lions Club. They do a lot of good stuff for the village. It's the same thing with the athletic associations at the school. They're using public funds, public building, public whatever, but they're not a part of the school. They're a separate organization. And I guess that, to me, that's the part that's missing. And over the years, that's why it has not fallen under this rule of having to have it audited. We have at least one time in the past brought the books in, let the auditor, when he was here auditing the village, look through the books and basically gave us okay. He didn't tell the administrator or anybody else anything other than, yes, the books were good. That was it. They didn't give a dollar amount, because the fear is okay, we tell you I'm speaking for the firemen here, the association, that they have X number of dollars, and the next budget, the village could say, and we have had administrators, believe me, that wanted to dip into that money. And I'm not saying he's a bad administrator. I'm just saying it's a political organization that's constantly changing. And so is the Fire Department Athletic Association, but the members vote on where that money goes. They're not directed by the village on where that money should be spent. Right. Because they work damn hard to earn that. I guess money.
I would come back to my question again, then why is it difficult to list and put out there for the public to see?
Well, that could be done separately if that's what needs to be done for the, you know, for the organization, but that doesn't have to come to the village. That would have to be posted publicly someplace. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not following those rules, but that doesn't have to come here for you guys. Not that you can't find it if it's out there for the public.
But I think because the fire department is a piece of.
The fire department is, but this is the athletic association.
But the
this athletic is a group of guys that want to go play baseball and softball and that's important because you need to build that camaraderie with the people that you're going to be going into fires with.
I understand that, but I'm not sure that I see the association being run that way, and it's got its own provided.
It's got its own, you know, officers. They're not the officers. It could be the brand new guy that walks in off the street could be president.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, thank you very much for your comments, Tom. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What's been lacking in this whole situation as an old politician is we've had nobody in the room to listen to the association folks and to the board folks. And that's gonna come from Nick Apps and John Troutman. And they're the ones that are gonna say what they have to do and what the village does not have rights to. And I think until we get there, we're just gonna have,
More conversation.
yes, ma'am. And so I would strongly make that recommendation. Boz, what do you think on that?
Fully wanting to be involved if asked by the village to participate, sure. They've relayed their commentary. And that's why we're where we are.
May I hear from Carrie? I think you want
I would like just to add one thing. The village has been very good to the fire department. Don't get me wrong. The village has supported the fire department and been very good that way. I don't want you to take it as, you know, we look at you as being the bad person. You're not. That's not where this is coming from. This is coming from, and there's a lot of history to it. Like I say, this is the fourth attempt by the village board to do this. This is not the first one. And
yeah, and I'm
I
not
believe
sure
Mr.
that
Murphy should remember some of these.
okay. Let's take a little bit of time if anybody else wants to make a comment, and then we're probably gonna have to end the meeting fairly soon because I'm gonna lose 2 committee members, so.
We got enough time or?
Sure, go
All right.
ahead. Let
Stand
it
up.
short.
Oh, I think it'll be short. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay. Great.
So I am the village or the association's treasurer. So I was in contact, as soon as I was aware
You
of,
were?
I am the
Now?
associate's treasurer. I have been since
Oh,
Bill
okay.
Stewart has
I'm sorry.
retired.
Okay.
I have been for 4 or 5 years now. I got this ordinance. I read the ordinance. I read it to the T. I got John Teltman's number. I called John Teltman and he said, I will call Boz. He called Boz. I hadn't heard anything. That was the last conversation I had with him for a while. On Saturday before the emergency meeting, I called Mr. Teltman again, because the first time I called him, I said, I read the ordinances. I said, I am in 100% compliant, reading when I say it, going by this, it says membership shall be audited manually by the village auditor. I said, we're the village auditor. You set up this account for this reason. I will turn my books over to you. Where can we do this? And he told me at that time, he said, you can't do that. The village has to ask because it's a different bill. Understand? I will call Boz. He did that on Saturday morning, emergency meeting. I called John Teltman again. I said, John, I'm reading this ordinance again. I said, this is the way it says. I said, we have a meeting. I said, I'm willing to do this whenever you want, wherever you want. I talked to Boz. This is John Teltman said, I talked to Boz. Boz told me to sit back, service were not needed. This ordinance does not say village board, does not say village administrator. If you want to change the wording is, I've had attorneys look at this and the wording is confusing. You want to change it, that's fine. Change it for next year, change it for the year after. I can't go back on what, you know, Officer Drew cannot arrest a person walking in a crosswalk for jaywalking because tomorrow the rule's going to take that crosswalk out. You can't do that.
And I'm sure you realize that that is the process that we're going through right now. And so that's why this whole topic.
Correct. And that's why I tried to do it. I mean, I don't know where my hands, I went there, I talked to the guys on the phone and said, let's do this. Well, they can't. Okay, it comes back to you guys. I have, seen the things that Jason has gone through. He is a member. I was in the room. No one asked me. And I know Trustee Grundon knows, I know Trustee Mansell knows that there was board members. And I know Boz knew that there was how it goes, that there's president, vice president, president, and secretary. And no one asked the question who the secretary was. No one asked the president until a following month went by. And no one has still asked from the village who the treasurer was. And it's from me. And it was Del Stewart for 34 years. I have combined with Del for a lot of things on this process. And like Mr. Bartlett said, this hasn't been done in 20 plus years. And Tautman did this, set this up, and he's the guy that I talked to. I talked to our accountant. We file taxes every year. We pay taxes every year. We pay over $1,300 in taxes every year. It's a 501c, but we pay sales tax. We have to. Now I have to pay quarterly, which is new from this year because of the amount. So going on to the ramifications of what's going on with our chief being a member and have the abuse that he's going through. If you read our handy dandy little village book that we all have to sign. Reputation, the name and reputation of the village is underneath to protect the village of whatever its assets and reputation. That's on there. Now, you go into reporting concerns. All employees are responsible for reading, understanding, and following this code. Any violation of this code and subject to disciplinary action up to including termination of employment. Any violation of the law may also be subject to civil and criminal penalties. Underneath that, retaliation. No village does. The village does not tolerate retaliation against employees for making good faith reports of possible violations of the law or village policies, including this code. Employees who retaliate, attempt to retaliate, or commit any other similar misconduct will be disciplined. Harassment policy.
Okay, you know what, I think we can all read those and know, and know what's on there.
So we go in there, and I have a report that came through on what Mr. Warden passed out on where village officers are not pertaining to this. Yeah, in the harassment policy, we are committed to providing a professional work environment that maintains employees' equality, dignity, and respect. We strictly prohibit and will not tolerate discrimination practices or harassment against employees based on their protected class status by anyone, including elected officials, supervisors, coworkers, visitors, vendors, citizens, or any other person. Similar employees are prohibited from harassing and discrimination against any other person based on their protected class status.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stop you there. Yeah, we've heard that. I want to hear from anybody else who has comments. Anybody else back there? Okay, then I think we're gonna call this to a close.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I go back to my original point. I mean, Chief Bartlett alluded to this is the fourth time, and then I lost it. But if this is the fourth time, I'm not saying it is, it isn't, because I don't know, but I think it is imperative that we have a representation, maybe the officers of the fire department or of this, what do you call it, the athletic club, and the village administrator, and Diane probably should be there, and then Nick or Troutman to explain this in the way it has to be, and then we just put that in writing and we go from here. Otherwise, this is a never-ending thing that is gonna not end up well.
And maybe it can be put to sleep after 20 years or whatever, you know, it's not.
That's what I was hoping for tonight. Our meeting was delayed by a half hour. Now we gotta wrap it up in 36 minutes. I don't want this to drag on any longer. My entire month has been consumed by this. It destroyed my last weekend. This is all I did was meetings and phone calls.
I'm sorry that was the case.
I don't want to drag this out anymore. I respect your schedules, but what about my schedule? I work a full-time job and then I have to come and do this in my spare time.
And I think we are moving forward with, you know, how this is going to happen. So I think if you deal with the bylaws and get that okayed, I think a piece of this is covered in there. Then hopefully that will settle part of this. And then I think
real quick, because you got a lot of folks in the room that I would like to make sure we're all on the same page. You laid out a good timeline. Right now, while I, as your supervisor, based on our task organization, gave you a heads up that potential disciplinary action could happen, because of your response to me after that, any disciplinary action has been stopped. You, as a fire chief, are not going to get any discipline from me because you have answered the requirement that I asked in that task. That man and his commission has not received any documentation from me on disciplining you, because that's done with me. Based on your response, it is done.
Okay.
It's done.
You said it was
based on your response. Yeah, based on your response that opened the books, to your point. And you're exactly right, Carrie, that is on Monday, based on the response Chief gave me on Saturday after your meeting. My comment was to Troutman to explain and to say, dude, if you do their books, how long, what's the charge? Give me some information. He gave me that. That's what I gave you. We can go two ways on this. We can just let the village do it like it's written, or to answer the same things that he would look for in a expedited pattern, we could go this route. That's that one pager. I was just throwing it at you, because if your response to me could have been simply reply, please follow the ordinance language. Then my next call to Troutman is, Troutman, do your audit. And there's no charge to you, because it's a village audit. The confusion in that email was that if you wanted us as a village to hire an outsider, that's what it would be. That's all. If it's Troutman, we pay that man. I'm not worried about that. So right now there's no discipline. There's no pending discipline. We're working.
Yep.
No issue.
Which is great.
I'm waiting on the response of what level of audit do you, based on our ordinance, want to do? The way it's written or an expedited? And I don't care which one.
This isn't on us. This is.
I'm with you. I don't care which
This is
one.
your written word.
Yes. So if you want the auditor based on how it's written, that's all I need to know. And then my next call to Troutman is schedule it, do it. Let's be done with this damn thing.
I want to make a comment. Sorry. I talked to other 501c people that around, and the reason they do outside audits is because of backwoods stuff. So if they got a third party, not affiliated with anything, it does a thorough end. You have Mr. Boz doing it, and a village trustee, and there is somebody on there that me. Well, I got a good relationship. Oh, there's a check written out to Mr. Smith for $600. Oh, it must have been for something. Goes by. 2 months later, another check, Mr. Smith. But you don't know what that check's for. It could be for anything. If you do a village nonpartisan audit outside internally, you do not internal audits. They're just, that's where it gets fuzzy paperwork. You can get thousands of missing.
Okay,
Outside audit is the way to go to protect the 501c, to protect the village, and it's at a cost. And it's been there for 20 some years. It's written in our ordinance. I read the ordinance and I called Trump.
okay, we're gonna hear just a short comment, Tom,
Very
from
short,
you.
You said earlier that most 501Cs post it every year. If the athletic association did that and it's public, they really don't need to bring it to you. You can go look and find it. To me,
Right.
that's the real,
Exactly.
that may be the real answer to this. Is if they would just do that. You know, I mean, you guys have to just, talk about this, obviously, on the association, but to me, that seems like a better solution. Then everybody in the village, whoever needs to see it, can see it.
And I think the
And if you guys
community
need it,
does. need
because
to
they are
see
a
that.
separate organization, and that's the problem I have.
Can I make a comment?
Thank you, Tom.
There's Sue.
I have comments from the committee members, and then Carrie, if you've got a real short
I
comment.
got some more, but I mean, I got
Okay,
nothing important, just
Madam Chair, I'd like to be excused after the trustee comments.
you certainly may, and you too, but go ahead.
Yes, just a quick perusal online. Do public charities must disclose finance, and the page after page is yes. So if somebody walks in off the street and asks for finances, and if you were to say no, you would be in violation of that. So for practice, I mean, you can throw that right back at me as a pastor, and so you can come to church and say, where's your finances? I'd have to say they're not prepared yet, but I would have to disclose those even as a church. And so you have to, if that ever happens, because any one of us, even if you say, well, as a village, you can't do that, but any of us as individuals could go and ask for that information. What would be your policy there for disclosing that information to individuals upon request?
Can I respond to that?
Carrie,
I
quickly.
believe you're correct.
Yeah,
100%. There is a timeline on how that is. There is a time to get that, because you said that they aren't prepared. There is a time limit. There is attorneys that I have in Madison that do nonprofits that I've looked into. I haven't called them because I don't think we need to. What I'm trying to do here is save a fire department and save an association that has donated in years, hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment. And I can list it for you now.
no, I'm
And-
sorry, we do not have time
But
to do
you guys
that.
are requiring us to post this, and I'm willing to say this now, and you're not allowing me to.
You're going to
I
say.
say what is purchased in the fire department, but you don't want to hear it.
I'd
Madam
like to
Chairman, a
see
point of
it.
order, that is not why this discussion now is going on. We have moved off into what they're using the money for, and that is not part of this discussion.
Okay, and let me just say, sure, if you want to print off a list, but no, we don't, and President Zerflu is correct. We're moving on
Yep.
topic. So, all right. April 10th is the date, and hopefully that will take care of bylaws.
May
And
10th.
we are,
May.
May 10th. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, you're right, it is. One more comment from, Eric Grundon.
Nobody smeared Eric. There was not a campaign to smear Eric, and nobody brought up, I did not bring up the fire department.
Yes, you did.
As you have in your email, exactly what I said there, but when you guys brought up the fire department, I responded, that's all printed up.
Okay, I think we can look at meeting the YouTube or of the meeting or whatever, if we want to prove that point.
Your
So-
Facebook post
Our
called
meeting,
out Eric for ethics
our
violations.
meeting is
Yes.
adjourned as of 6:15. Thank you for all of you participated.
Eric did make that.
Meeting's
was-
over, Chair.
See you next month, Lisa.
I did it right away. John, Augusta.
All right, you did say, Chad.
And I said, I will meet you right now.
You're exactly right. I said, he told me on Monday, he said, yeah, I can show up, we'll schedule, we'll do that. He said, okay. He said 30 days, and 2,500 bucks. But okay, before I say yes,
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you.
Is it still recording?
Sorry.